If ever your life could be a true crime podcast episode, then this podcast is for you. We're about to embark on a roller coaster of emotions, insights, survival, and stories about escape. So buckle up and let the journey begin.
Hello and welcome into the Escape Pod. How
you
is
didn't even
everybody
count me
doing?
in. I was just like, oh, we're going?
We're going. I'm Julie.
She's like, I have places to go, people to see.
She's Charity.
Hi, Julie.
Well, yeah, I just thought you were ready. I actually thought you were ready before that.
Well, I appreciate that you think I'm so composed and put together, but
you're just raring to go.
raring to go.
There you go.
Yeah.
What are you escaping today?
Well, today I'm escaping because, as you will notice, I was out one day this week.
Uh-huh.
I didn't tell you why.
You didn't.
I just said it was related to my house.
I figured there was maybe a sewer problem.
No, we had that line totally replaced
Okay.
a couple of years ago. So shout out Loyal Plumbing.
Mm-hmm.
No, this was, I had come home the night before and the house just, like when something turns in the fridge, like it spoils and it, could not find what it was. And so my house freaking reeked.
Oh, no.
And so windows are open. I've cleaned out the fridge. We think we find the culprit, but nothing was obvious. I mean, it was so weird.
Was it the dead body in your garage?
It might have been the dead body in my fridge. No.
Oh, gosh.
Well,
that took a turn I didn't expect.
For sure coming from the fridge is what I'm saying. But so we aired the house out, did all that. And then I take my progesterone at night, and it's like
puts
me out. But I don't stay asleep long if something, like it doesn't knock me out all night.
Okay.
So about midnight, I wake up 1 o'clock-ish, and I can't breathe. Like that smell is back, and it's so strong that I cannot sleep.
This reminds me of my skunk experience.
It's like a skunk, just a different odor. But I'm
so strong that it's like burning your
and so
nostrils.
what had happened is he'd closed the windows up. He didn't want them open overnight.
Okay.
And I'm like, let the house air out all night. I'm happy to pay the heating bill.
You're like, I can't have the smell.
Yeah. So anyway, things got closed back up. And then I always close my bedroom door when I sleep. And he's in a different room right now because of snoring. So
no judgment.
No judgment. No.
No.
No, he's got like these weird, just the last couple of years, like developed these fall onset allergies. He's never had them his whole life. And it just gets really bad.
Okay.
And he's miserable.
I believe it.
It's like a cold, but not. And it's terrible. Anyway, so, my room was closed up and I'm like, oh my God, I can't breathe. So I'm up in the middle of the night trying to, where the hell is this odor coming from? Could not figure it out. And when I said, there's no way. I can't come home to this again. I need to get it handled. So I went out. I bought all the baking soda in Rapid City.
Okay.
Came home, took everything out of the fridge. Anything that had been opened and still was partially used, just threw everything out. Completely, sterilized my refrigerator. Aired the house out. I had a doTERRA diffuser going with some Litsea in it that cleans the air. Did this for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. My house finally smells like neutral. I was like, thank God. But that's what I was doing. So
and you still don't know what?
The best we can figure, it was like a salsa of all things. I know.
That's weird.
I know. Usually it's like, we all know what rotten eggs smell like. It wasn't that. Or like beans, or chicken. Oh, God. Yeah, but it was just
or a rotten potato.
Potatoes are bad. It was so putrid, but I'm like, there's nothing obvious.
That's so strange.
It was in a jar, partially and it had, because we'd had house guests and stuff, so some stuff kind of got shoved to the back. But so I'm like, finally, where'd that come from? That's been in there a long time. It had to have been that. But, oh, my God, was it awful. So that's what I'm escaping. Now I'm going to be like a hyper vigilant on the refrigerator going, 2 days, you're gone.
We had a potato go bad once. And I mean, there are a few smells that are that bad.
That is atrocious.
Usually once you get rid of it, though, it's kind of gone. It didn't linger a long time. The only thing I thought you were going to say, you discovered there was a dead mouse somewhere.
No.
Because...
Although I'm pretty sure I did hear a mouse in my garage this morning. Squeak. I was like, oh, shit.
No.
I messaged my husband right away. I said, hey, I just heard this. I think we have a mouse in the garage. He's
You're
like,
going to
"Sure
have
it's
to
not a
do
rabbit?" I'm
something
like,
about
well,
that.
I heard it. He's like, not rustling. No, it was a little squeak.
Oh, no.
Like, oh, no.
Well, we were visiting somebody once, and it wasn't super obvious right away, but there was, like, where we did laundry in this house. I was like, something's maybe going bad in here. Like,
Is there a mouse in the wall?
I think they
I've had that
determined
happen.
that there was a mouse.
And it was
Yeah.
like, either we're going to have to cut into the wall
I
to
don't
check,
think it was in the wall,
or
because
you just let it decompose and you write it out.
and you suffer.
We had to write it out.
Oh.
It was a brand new house. I'm like, we're not chopping into the wall.
I'm pretty sure they ended up finding it, but it took some, like, because they thought, oh, it's same thing. Like, oh, it's the potato, or it was this or that. Like, because it was kind of semi-used as a pantry too. So
yeah.
it could have been multiple things. And I just was like, something doesn't smell right. And I have such a sensitive nose. And I just kind of kept like, maybe it's just me. And then they were like, we found what it was, and it was a mouse. And then once it was gone, it was like, oh, thank you.
My husband could smell this in his condition that I've just described. And he
That
doesn't
is
have the
so
strongest sense of smell anyway.
strange.
And now he's like stuffy on top of it.
Yeah.
It was bad. So that's what I did until about 10 o'clock. And then I just said, today is a not going to be on camera day. And still did work, but I just, yeah, it was terrible.
That is terrible.
So, I mean, I changed the furnace filter, put baking soda by the furnace, because it's like it was in the ductwork at this stage, because the house is closed up. And fortunately, I only have carpet in one room in the house.
Okay.
Everything else is hardwood floor or just some kind of hard surface. So fortunately, it wasn't in that. But good Lord. Yeah.
I just figured something went wrong and you had to wait for somebody to come help you.
Nope.
So I was like, that could be all day, but
This was woman versus odor.
odor.
Yeah.
It's all right.
I won.
Yay. Victory. I'm trying to escape spam emails, not in my work email, in my personal email. They are coming hard and heavy, and I don't. Yeah, it's actually gotten better. I think I've blocked enough different things now that now I'm maybe getting a couple a day instead of at one point I was getting them like 5 at a time. And they're very clearly spam emails. Like, it's just strange. So I don't know what I clicked on or what list I ended up on. I mean, because I don't venture too far on the internet from what I know to be safe. So it's very strange, but I am on some list and I'm being spammed like crazy. It's eased up a skosh, but still, even before, like, we sat down and I was like, ugh. But then before I could even open it, my filter like kicked in and it went to junk. But just like, really, like, you could just have a real job instead of just sending spam emails to people all day long.
Concept.
Wouldn't that be wild if we just did like legitimate work?
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about today? I know zero about the topic. Except
This is
for one word.
It's a cool story because she survived.
Awesome.
Yes.
A true escape artist.
Very true escape artist. And she turned it into a business. So I'll talk about that. I think it's super cool. So there's some really heavy-hitting women in this story. So we're going to talk about first Kelly Herron.
Okay.
This was not that long ago, escaping an attacker in a park.
Okay.
Along the beach. I think it was Seattle area. Yeah, Seattle, 2017.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk about some self-defense strategies for similar situations because that plays a role in how she escaped.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk about, like today, you and I were just talking about how on a certain issue I should have trusted my gut because we all know my intuition is wicked sharp. And there was an issue and I listened to reasonable people in my life instead of my own gut and I regret it because my gut was telling me, red flag, danger, danger, don't go there.
It happens.
It does happen. And so there's a couple podcasts I listen to, and That's Why We Drink is one, and then Sinisterhood. And they've both referred to Gavin de Becker's book, The Gift of Fear.
I have heard about that. I don't think
it's referenced a lot.
Actually read it. Yeah.
I haven't read it, but I did go through some Cliff's Notes and look at a summary of some of these, like, how can you tell if someone is preying upon you? What are those signs? And so we're going to talk about some of those indicators. And so my hope is that by the end of this episode, anyone out there who might find themselves in a vulnerable position, male, female, otherwise, doesn't matter, can apply some of these things to make sure that they can become or remain an escape artist.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Okay, here we go. So first of all, imagine being one of those people who like regularly does really good things for their body and their health, like training for a marathon.
Uh-huh. Good for her.
Not me. My son just finished a half marathon.
I've done a half marathon actually multiple times.
This is actually kind of funny.
It was also pre-children.
Boy, this is going to be a long episode if I'm already going down a rabbit hole. But this was so cute. So he did it this weekend, and his message was, so he puts his time, and he did really well. And then he said, that sucked.
Oh.
And then I'm like, well, how far is a half marathon? 13.1 miles. I'm like, I'm already vomiting just.
Yeah.
So anyway.
It's not fun.
But I applaud people who do it. I think it's cool. Hey, pop in some, earbuds, get some music going, head out. So she does that. She puts her music in. She's going for a 10-mile run in preparation for this marathon she's training for. It sounds lovely. When you think about how cathartic that is for the people who do engage in that all the time, you don't anticipate falling prey to a violent sexual predator.
Right. But
that's exactly the situation Kelly Herron found herself in. So she is the survivor behind some of you may have heard about the NTMF, which stands for Not Today Motherfucker brand.
Okay.
And that was spawned out of one of the worst days of her life. Okay. And so we're going to tell you about her escape story, and then we're going to share some of those self-defense tips that don't require months and years of training in order to be able to master it. Okay, so March of 2017, cold, dreary, damp day in Seattle, just like it started out here today. Yay, fall in South Dakota. Kelly was training for a marathon, like I said, and although she didn't really want to go out in these conditions, I mean, who would? She bundled up, forced herself to head out for a 10-mile run. I mean, goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I right? Okay, so she's on it. Around the halfway point, she enters a bathroom on the beach to use the restroom.
Mm-hmm.
And as she was finishing up and drying her hands, she was suddenly very aware that the bathroom was not empty like she had originally thought.
I just got
I watched
shivers.
your body language, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Her intuition kicked in, alerting her that she was not alone, something was wrong, and she turned around to see a man. This man.
Ooh.
Ew, stuff of nightmares, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Staring at her. It took her a few microseconds to realize that A, this was not a fellow woman in the women's restroom.
Right.
And B, that there was a pungent and offensive odor wafting off of him. And C, he intended to harm her. So he lunges at her from behind, takes her hard down to the ground. So I imagine with what I read, like his arms are around her upper body because her knees hit the concrete floor really hard, shoves her to her stomach. And so now she's prone on her stomach. It's one of the most vulnerable positions to be in. She starts throwing her elbows back behind her, trying to do her best to derail this guy and, thwart his sick and twisted plans. But being on her stomach, she was doing absolutely no damage to this guy whatsoever. So she's feeling helpless, but she's not ready to give in. Mm-hmm. And so she recalls just recently her employer sponsored a self-defense training at work. And it taught her that making noise and not being an easy target, fighting back, in other words, any way that you could deter some attackers. So she went for it. She had nothing to lose at this point.
Right.
The worst was going to happen.
Right.
She knew this logically. And as soon as she opened her mouth to scream, the words, quote, "Not today, motherfucker," came out of her mouth. And it encouraged her, like hearing those words verbalized encouraged her. It She got fired up. She began fighting with everything she had in her. She later said there was no time for fear. She was angry, and she was not going to make this easy on him. So she scratched, she gouged, she punched, anything she could do to crash her hard bones into his soft, vulnerable places on his body, just like she learned in that training. So yes, she was doing some damage, but so was he. She was taking quite a beating as this attack progressed, and so much so that she began to lose consciousness.
Ooh.
And that was when her inner voice, the same inner voice that carried her through many long miles of running when she didn't feel like she had the strength to finish, came back to her. And it was like, quote, it was like, come on, Kel, you've got this. Don't give up. Keep going, she would later say when giving an interview. So she digs deep. She manages to get out from under the bathroom stall door where he'd boxed her in. And she sprinted outside, getting the attention of some passersby who, and I love this, helped her lock him in the women's bathroom.
Oh.
Until the police could get there. So he wasn't going anywhere. When they pulled him out, he was bloodied and beaten as well, but he came without a fight. The guy turned out to be a 40-year-old homeless registered level 3 sex offender from Arizona. And in the state of Arizona, level 3 is the most severe category due to, you ready for this?
I'm sure I don't even want to hear it.
High risk of reoffending.
Yep.
So that's why we let people out of prison, because they have a high risk of reoffending. What the actual hell is wrong with the people who make these decisions? Oh my God, it's infuriating.
Shoot.
Oh, my blood pressure's going up. So Kelly was still in shock when
this laugh is a
nervous laugh.
Yeah.
So Kelly was still in shock when the paramedics came, so much so that she told them she wanted to run her last 6 miles to get herself to the hospital.
Did they let her do that?
No.
Okay, I was going to
they
say,
did not.
I don't think that most
She was
of
pretty
them would
banged
have.
up too. Here's a picture of her after she was cleaned
she'd
up.
been treated. Yeah,
he beat the hell out of her. She also sustained severe bruising and a back injury during the attack. I mean, think about, that twisting and all the stuff she was probably doing, trying to, make a fuss and get away. And remember what Tim said about that needing to take control of a chaotic situation? Mm-hmm. Or like when I picked the gravel out of his knees after the shooting because I didn't know what else to do. I think that's what she's doing there too. Like, hey, I had a goal, damn it.
Yeah.
Or like me in labor. I don't know I'm in labor with my first child, walking across the U of M campus, and it resulted in a professor who was freaking out because he was afraid I was just going to drop a baby in his class. And he calls my husband. He's like, let me just call your husband. I'm like, just let me take my test. I was trying to take all my finals early because she was due during finals week.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're going to have this baby. I'm like, I just called my doctor. They said I'm fine. And he's like freaking out. So he's on the phone with my husband, trying to talk my husband into letting him take me to the hospital. And I'm trying to talk my husband into making the professor let me just take the damn test because I had a goal. I studied for this test. I'm going to take this test. So I get it. She, even though it probably wouldn't have been in her best interest, she wanted to exert what little control she had so she could achieve some sense of normalcy. Because the reality is her life had just changed forever. Yeah. That is never going to go away.
Right. I'm thinking every time you need to use a public restroom, what are you thinking about?
You develop a bladder infection because you're going to hold it.
I mean,
or wear a diaper or something.
It probably takes buddy system to a whole new level,
Just wait. I've been researching an episode. So upcoming episode, I don't know when we're going to record it, but it's on the history of the hysteria diagnosis in women.
Oh, okay.
And this conversation's going to come back.
Okay. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. So Kelly later told an interviewer that, I think we all have that warrior inside of us who takes over when we're in a life-threatening situation, she said. She knew she couldn't let herself lose consciousness because she knew it would have been all over if she had. Not only did she survive, she made an active decision to share her story in the hopes that it would inspire other women to learn self-defense and be able to save themselves if faced with a similar situation. So she posted images of her injuries and the frantic trajectory of her movements while under attack. So do you see that those lines everywhere?
Yeah.
And that's under the hashtag Not Today Motherfucker, and that went viral.
Okay.
And so that's all the running that she did like trying to get away from him and then out to find help and then locking the door and all this stuff. So when that began happening, this going viral began happening, she decided to help it along by reaching out to media outlets and reporting on her attack and telling them about Fighting Chance Seattle and the training that they conducted at her workplace, telling them that this is why she survived. She gained 12,000 followers on Instagram overnight from all over the world after she posted her story. I also thought it was interesting when, during an interview, she said that, quote, "The most upsetting messages I received were the ones in which people told me what I should have done. Suddenly, everyone with access to a keyboard is an armchair survival expert. I did what I had the ability to do in the moment."
Right. Yeah.
In which I was caught completely off guard. You never know how you will react in a situation until you are actually in it.
Correct.
So I love her for that.
Well, just to reference some of our previous episodes, including one with Pennington County's top prosecutor talking about how freeze response is finally recognized as a legitimate response to trauma in the state of South Dakota. It had been in other places previously. And I would just say, you know, you're the victim. You're going to react the way you react. You don't know until it's you.
Yeah.
I mean, I applaud her, and I think that's amazing. And I think it's amazing for people to know that you can fight back and not only win, but win big. However, a lot of people don't. Like, she felt a presence in the bathroom. Like, what if you didn't? What if you had a small child with you and your attention is on them and you don't realize somebody's there? You know, what if you're on your phone? What if, you know? And fortunately, a lot of people I know who run and wear earbuds, and so they have music or whatever going. Almost all of them will say, I never listened to it so loud that I couldn't hear somebody coming up.
Yeah. If I'm outside like that, I'll have it on ambient.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm the same way. I'm like, I am still very aware of my surroundings. And you shouldn't have to be, quite frankly. You shouldn't have to be. But that's not the world we live in.
Well, I'm sorry to tell you. Yeah, that is the world we live in. Sucks. But look, she did beat the hell out of him.
She really did.
So he looks even worse than when he started out.
And to be quite frank, he looks worse than she does. So she has that going for her too.
But still, good God, the stuff of nightmares. I mean, this is a horror scene face. So, and that's the thing, you know, for some of us, even if we've taken self-defense classes, unless we train ourselves out of a hardwired response like freezing, like you mentioned, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
You don't, and it's not wrong. It just is. And the important message here is to trust your gut in that moment because it's telling you what to do. Sometimes that is freeze. Sometimes that is appease. Sometimes that is running or fighting like hell. So just it's so again, we're going to talk later with Gavin DeBecker's work about how to kind of give your intuition those cues. Look like, oh, okay, wait a minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Better pay attention here. So now this NTMF brand is now a symbol of strength. And those letters and the frantic lines of her movement when under attack are now on T-shirts being sold to benefit Face Forward LA, an agency that helps assault survivors with surgical care to reconstruct after violent assaults. So NTMF and the lines on that front and on the back are the 4 tips she thankfully learned in self-defense class that day. 1, trust your intuition. 2, respond immediately. 3, be loud and fight hard. And 4, hard bones to soft spots. And she now co-teaches corporate self-defense classes through her business Not Today to help empower women to survive. Now, Kelly went through approximately 5 months of therapy and physical therapy in her healing journey from this event. But she says for her, the PTSD she endured was like entering a war zone. She was severely depressed. She had to cut back on work hours. She said she had a good support system in place, but the anger she felt towards the attacker was all-consuming. She couldn't focus on anything else. She said, quote, I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel sad. I couldn't cry. All I could feel was anger and depression, end quote. Despite all this, she kept running, trying not to let him take anything else from her, but she ended up with an injury that forced her to have to take a break and focus on self-care. And that's a really important message.
Yeah.
I've learned that the hard way many times. In March of 2018, Kelly went to court to give a victim impact statement. The guy went to prison, and in July of 2018, Kelly completed a leg of a group relay race that when she attempted it the year before had triggered a PTSD attack. This time, she said it was the final push that helped her let go of the assault and its hold on her. 2 days later, she received word that her attacker had died in prison, and she talked about the relief she felt knowing that he could never harm another person again.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know how he died, but maybe she gave him a concussion.
I don't know. She fought back pretty well.
See, but that's the thing. This problem with thinking, there are some things you cannot rehabilitate people out of. Yeah. And we should have figured that out by now.
Yeah.
And we don't. Well, let him out. Let's let him out. Give him another chance. Because we're compassionate people and we don't want people locked up. Some people need to be locked up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So I'll leave it up to you. Do you want to take a break now and then come back, or do you want to?
Okay. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back on the Escape Pod. Hello, escape artists out there. Quick public service announcement. You hear us talk on the Escape Pod about the One Heart campus. To learn more about this place for hope and healing where lives are changed for the better, listen to the prologue episode at escapepod.live or wherever you get your podcasts, or visit oneheartrc.org. We're back in the Escape Pod. I'm Julie, here with Charity, and we just heard a pretty incredible story of an escape artist in action. Tell me her name one more time.
Kelly Herron.
Kelly Herron, attacked in a public bathroom while out on a run, and fought back and ultimately was able to walk away from it. So tell us where we're going from here. Sorry.
Self-defense strategy. So in my research for this episode, I came across the work of a lady by the name of Gemma Sheehan. She's the founder of Girls Who Fight.
Okay.
And so she has a very similar philosophy to Kelly, and I thought her tips would be easy to grasp because they don't require hours and hours of self-defense training, because that's hard. I mean, most people listening to a podcast are busy doing something else. They're not like actively taking notes and practicing these things. So I wanted things that were quick and hopefully would stick in your brain. So I took these from her website, and we'll link it in the show notes. She has a lot of really great information and resources. And the gist of her approach is that you don't always have to fight the enemy, but rather take away their incentive to attack you.
Okay.
Okay. So there's several strategies here. Strategy number 1, awareness of surroundings and people in them. And she talks about being alert, because an alert person is a lot more difficult to attack than a distracted person.
Yeah.
So you're most likely not going to be picked out if you're kind of vigilant and paying attention to your surroundings. Predators will aim to catch victims off guard so that by the time they realize what's happening, it's over. It's too late. She says your eyes, your ears, and your intuition have been perfected over centuries for the sole purpose of keeping you alive. So use them.
Yeah.
Don't shut them down in public. Number 2, trust your instincts. We're going to talk a lot about that today. Many women who were attacked say they had a bad feeling just before the thing happened, but they ignored it. And why do we do that?
Because I do think we try to give people the benefit of the doubt.
That, or we're going to come off as rude.
Yeah.
Or impolite.
Yeah.
Or paranoid or crazy or whatever. Because,
sure.
Like I said,
all of the above.
The research I'm doing on the hysteria stuff and all the menstrual related, that it's so prevalent in
our society.
Women are crazy. Women are crazy.
Right.
And when I cover with you the different activities that were prescribed for such things, you're going to, yeah. But that gut feeling that something isn't right, I mean, that's our like control panel, right? Something isn't right. We don't have red flashing lights, but that's the equivalent of, hey, you need to steer in a different direction. And Gavin DeBecker talks a lot about that. So again, we'll cover that at the end of the episode. Tip number 3, present yourself confidently. Body language is one of the most important indicators of a person's willingness to fight back. And so they've done some studies to show that predators will judge your vulnerability by observing how you walk. So someone who walks confidently, shoulders back, head up, swiftly with purpose, is going to be less likely to be attacked because they're more capable of standing up for themselves. Someone who hangs their head and kind of shies away, doesn't want attention, they're going to be a lot easier to pick off.
Yeah.
So strategy number 4, deny attack opportunities. Attackers don't look for fights, she says. They look for opportunities.
Right.
Yeah. So finding attack opportunities involve considerations like a place and time where no one else is around to protect you or intervene, positioning themselves to surprise you when you're distracted, luring or baiting victims into approaching them. Ted Bundy was a perfect example of that. I have a cast, or I need help getting my stuff in the car, and then whack, and it's all over, right? Silence of the Lambs, that guy.
Creepy.
Attacking when the victim has no capacity to defend themselves, like if they've been roofied or are really drunk or something like that. And criminals will hone these tactics their entire life. So they're like playing chess, constantly checking. So your defense strategies need to include actively denying openings for attack, she says. Other people, greatest protection. Stick around with other people. Make sure you don't go off by yourself. If you're paying attention to people around you and someone seems to be following you, they pop up. Now, I do this all the time because of stalking in my history. Like, I've seen them before, and it could be just in a shopping mall and it's okay, I've seen them already, but I'm going to pay attention to it. Okay. Just stay away from them because you never know, right? Elevators. Someone gives you the creeps, wait for the next one. I heard on another, I don't know what podcast I was listening to, but they were talking about how, it's going to drive me crazy now. It might have been Sinisterhood. Someone followed a woman into an elevator, and then he asks what floor.
Oh.
And he's just waiting. And her room was like at the end of a hall. And he's following her all the way. And now he doesn't know where her room is. But now he knows where her room is. And yeah, she disappears. Oh. So if you're in an elevator and someone gets on, take the upper hand first. Hey, what floor do you need? And then you can pick a totally different floor and just go beyond them so that they don't get off at the same time you do. Someone's lingering by your car or your house or whatever, just wait for them to leave. Call for help. Do something. You cannot defend what you cannot see, which is why most attackers come at you from behind, like they did in Kelly's case. And then just position yourself now this is a fight because I've been stalked a lot. 4 or 5 different cases, at least 4, maybe 5. And then my husband's a cop. So when we go to any public place, he wants to sit facing the door, and so do I. So anyway, it gets fun.
Yeah.
Okay, strategy number 5, recognizing lures. So bait. Like we talked about Ted Bundy and the help me, right? Lost pet.
Yeah.
Asking for directions, all that kind of a thing.
We shared that one with our kids really early as young people. Like if somebody says they lost their dog, do you follow them?
Adults do not need help from children.
Correct.
They don't need help from children.
Right.
Okay. Unsolicited offers to carry your groceries or help you at the mailbox or your garbage or whatever. Car broke down. Nope. That's okay. Gavin DeBecker would say, I did not ask you for your help. Leave. You just immediately don't be afraid to be rude. Who gives a shit if they think you're rude? That you don't want them there. You're getting some kind of signal from them. They're pushing themselves in your space. It's okay to be rude. You're never going to see this person again if you're lucky.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Child predators entice children to approach their car by offering free stuff. Candy, puppies, whatever. Home invaders like to lure victims to open the door by pretending they have something for them or they're a salesperson or whatever. Fake emergencies, being injured or whatever, are used often by criminals like abductors and home invaders because it lowers your defenses.
Sure.
Because when you see somebody in an emergent situation, what do we almost all of us want to do? We want to help. Okay, so these types of bait lowers the criminal's risk by reducing the amount of time an attack will take and eliminating escape options. They work so well because they make us feel like, okay, this person's helping us, so now we need to reciprocate. And it just weakens our position. Never get close to someone's car if a driver starts to have a conversation with you, regardless of what comes out of their mouth. Number 6, say no and mean it. Predators will use conversation to interview you. So see if you'll be an easy target. Gavin DeBecker says no is a complete sentence.
Yeah,
and
I've
it
heard that
requires
before.
no explanation, no negotiation. Also, I'm probably jumping ahead, but he also said that no is a complete sentence. And if you give any reason, no because blah, 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 all the predator's going to do is try to weaken your excuse. And now you're in a give and take debate kind of a thing. So don't do it. Okay, strategy 7, protect your personal space, distance.
Yeah.
I mean, law enforcement, what do? They make sure they have adequate distance between them and somebody else. If someone wants to hurt you, they have to get close to you first. So that's super easy to keep in mind. And of course, they can close the distance pretty quickly, but just pay attention to that. Distance is your first defense. Strategy number 8, be the threat. If an attacker chooses you, then he's calculated that you're somebody he can easily get away with whatever he has planned. Notice I'm using the term he just because statistically it's
Often a man.
Often a man.
More often a man.
Yeah. Okay. And then draw attention to the attacker, even if you don't think anyone's around. Sometimes that'll scare them too.
Okay.
You know, you can yell, get away from me, rapist, police, anything that's going to be that shocking word that someone, when they overhear it, is going to be like, oh gosh, we need to pay attention.
Years ago, I heard fire. Fire, fire. Because people sometimes, like, a fire draws attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
A word like rape actually scares people away.
Interesting.
So that was something I remember years ago a self-defense person said, again, it's drawing the attention. So, and in the moment, what do you think of saying? Who knows? You know, who knows what actually comes out of your mouth? Mm-hmm. But whatever emergency you think will get the most response, say it.
Yeah, and if you can't run, she says, face them head on. Put your hands up in a stop position, you know, like fighting stance. And then if they do attack you, fight back as well as you can. The goal isn't to win a fight, but to create an opening for escape.
Yeah.
So never forget how much of a threat you are to the attacker and show them that from the first moment. Number 9, simple weapons. She talks about even experienced fighters are wise to stick to the simple and most effective tools available in real life situations, like hard, pointy parts of your body, like your elbows, your knees. With the point of your elbow the face, like the chin, the temple, back of the head. Mm-hmm. And if you turn your body with the elbow, like, you know, you're facing away, you can increase the power rather than trying to do it while you're facing somebody. Obviously, knees to the groin, stomach, or head.
Yep.
Yeah. Drive it forward as hard as you can. Eye pokes. If you hear a pop, you probably just won.
Ugh.
But just the threat of that is usually enough to make an attacker move back. But, I mean, you're in close proximity. So don't try to lure them into closer proximity just to do this. Right. But if you happen to find yourself in that situation, eyeballs will deter some behavior. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Strategy 10, never go to a second location.
Yeah.
Statistically, if you get pulled to a second location, it's not going to be good. That is the place that the abductor is trying to get you to, and it usually allows them to commit what their ultimate plan is without risk of being caught. So you must do everything you can to prevent yourself from getting taken to that second location, no matter what. In self-defense, options equal survival, so never let an attacker remove your options, she says. Don't allow your hands to be tied. Don't allow yourself to be put in a car. You have to fight back while you have the option to and while your chances of success are still high. And then I came across this finger whip to the eyes. I'd never heard of this.
Sounds dangerous.
It's very simple. But like we already talked about eyes being some of the most, like the most effective way to stop an attacker. So the best surprise is like whipping your hands and your wrists like you're flicking water off of your fingertips.
Okay.
Okay. and it allows all 4 fingers to strike the eye. So if you went,
Oh.
and it's going to hurt. They're the fastest of all the strikes, and it can be repeated rapidly. They don't require strength, only speed.
Huh.
And they're the least telegraphed of all the strikes. So like if you're going to punch, you're kind of whatever.
Yeah.
There's indicators that this is coming.
Yeah.
This is just, they're never going to know it's coming. And it hurts.
Well, and your eyes automatically like close when something's coming at them, right? So you're kind of taking advantage of our primitive responses.
Right. So remember that, you're not going to maybe debilitate somebody doing that, but you're creating that window
opportunity
for escape.
to get away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to go into some of Gavin de Becker's advice. And so he's a big advocate for intuition.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we don't listen to it enough these days. And part of it is like all the technology we're surrounded by makes it harder. Our lives are so busy. I think, centuries ago, probably it was more finely tuned because we were closer to the earth and closer to just nature. And that's not the case anymore. And he talks about how when your intuition is giving you a message of fear, like we start to write it off immediately. Look, I mean, like the day that, my husband got shot, and when I got the first intuitive hit was like, oh, this is going to happen. Oh, I'm just tired. I'm stressed out. Whatever. You don't believe it the first time, right? We want to debunk our own survival instincts, he says. And so it's probably nothing. Let's just carry on with our day because we don't want to make a scene, especially polite, sweet little women, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And he says, but this is your most important ally in protecting yourself. So we have to pay attention. So there's going to be a list here now of things that he has studied that will help you pay more attention to like your awareness, the things going on around you, and tactics more specifically that some of these predators will use in trying to get things to go their way. So the first one he calls forced teaming. And what that is like, all right, like we're on a bus going somewhere. We don't know each other, but the bus breaks down. Now we're kind of in the same boat, right? We have that camaraderie because we were both fellow travelers and the bus broke down and there's already that.
Now you have something in common.
Yeah, we're both stuck here. Like we must be destined to whatever shared purpose. And they will start to project that shared purpose. They'll use language like both of us or like make you feel like we're on the same team or, well, here's a good example from his book. A woman and a man are waiting for a bus that's late. It's cold, rainy, and dark. The man strikes up a conversation with the woman using phrases like, how are we going to get home now? Eventually, he calls a friend for a ride and offers to take the woman home too. Perfect example. The best cons, Gavin de Becker says, make the victim want to participate. Yeah.
Oh.
So when he talks about forced teaming, it's done in a lot of contexts. But when it's applied by a stranger to a woman in a remote area or vulnerable situation, it's always inappropriate. It's never okay. And it's never about coincidence. It's about opportunity and establishing a rapport. But rapport building is seen as admirable in like how we relate to other people. But he says, nope, it's almost always done for self-serving reasons. So you need to pay attention to it. Not everyone who establishes to seek rapport is sinister, he says, but that doesn't mean that a woman must participate with every stranger who approaches her.
Correct.
Yeah. So make it clear, I didn't ask for your help. I don't want it. And that's usually going to take the wind out of their sails. Charm and niceness he talks about. It's just like rapport building. And he talks about using charm. It's not a noun, it's a verb. Don't look at, oh, this person is so charming but they're trying to charm me. Then it becomes, oh, why is he trying to charm me?
Yeah.
Or why are they trying to charm me? Okay, here we go. Quote, people seeking to control others almost always present the image of a nice person in the beginning. Nice is not a credential for good intent, he says.
Correct.
So niceness is a decision, not a character trait. And so he encourages women to explicitly reject unwanted approaches. Period. Too many details is another one. And that one, I mean, I'm sure you saw that in all your journalism years too. When people are giving you too many details, they're making something up. People who are telling the truth don't feel the need to give in all the details because it's like their core is solid. They already know where they're coming from. So paying attention to that context in which all these details are being provided might give you an indication that they're up to something. They're not being truthful with you. They want you to think something about them that isn't true to make them feel more like have a stronger affinity for them or whatever that is. So again, back to that kind of rapport building. Typecasting. This one's kind of fun because I could see young Charity falling for this one, where a man labels or stereotypes a woman and voices that to her so that she can prove that that's not true. Like, you're probably too scared to have a drink with me.
Oh.
Or get on the back of this motorcycle or this or that or whatever. And it's like, the hell I am, you know?
Yeah, it's a challenge.
It's a challenge.
It's a dare. Okay.
So you don't do it. Loan sharking, you know, not in the lending sense, but the defense, what he's talking about is loan sharking is, I'm going to give you something that you didn't ask for. And then I'm going to expect even more in return.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's that concept. So if someone's offering you anything unsolicited, just no.
Yeah.
No is a complete sentence. The unsolicited promise is another one. Again, it's kind of like the too many details, but it's like, well, I'm going to promise you this. I'm going to promise you that. It's convincing us of an intention. And he says that treat all unsolicited promises with skepticism. Okay. Well, like, why do they need to convince me of this?
Yeah.
Why? Right? Especially if you don't know the person. It just seems really strange. So avoid them. Discounting the word no. He said no is a word that must never be negotiated because the person who chooses not to hear it is trying to control you. So just, you shouldn't have to say it more than once, but declining to hear no is a signal that someone's either seeking to control you or refusing to relinquish control. And with strangers, that's, even with the best of intentions, never ever relent on the issue of no. So we talked a little bit earlier about no and then giving a because. As soon as you give a because, that weakens your standing. Then they're able to pick that apart. Well, no, because I don't want to go into your car with you because I don't like driving fast. Oh, well, then I'll drive. You know, it's just like whatever. They'll come back with something. And that's the thing, you know, rudeness is much more likely to deter a predatory criminal than niceness. We don't have to be nice.
Yeah.
Someone's going to call you a bitch, whatever. At least you're a safe bitch. So
years ago, actually, I was training, I think, for a half marathon, and I was running, and I think I had my dog with me, so that always made me feel a little bit better. But again, hyper aware of surroundings and this and that. It wasn't super early in the morning. It was like mid-morning. I was on a run along our bike path here, which runs near a creek. And I saw a gentleman come up from the creek, and he was in a full, like, heavier clothes. And this would have been, you know, May or June.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so that was alarming to me that he probably, and honestly, he probably had slept there. I don't know that he had any ill intentions, but because I was by myself and I saw him from afar and he just seemed like he didn't belong. And so I just slowed up my running, and because there was a couple behind me that were running, and I said, "Can I run with you for a little bit?" And they were like, "Of course." And I said, "I just saw this guy and I don't know what he was doing down there." And so they're like, "Of course." Unfortunately for me, they were faster runners than I was. So I had to kick it in gear for a few minutes. And then once I felt like, okay, now I'm, we've kind of out of the quote unquote danger zone.
Yeah.
Yep. But that was definitely, and I felt like, he probably, in my head, I'm like, he probably meant no harm. But I don't know that. And I'm by myself. And I'm not going to take the chance.
No.
And so it wasn't, and I feel like, I didn't have to be rude. I just needed to find somebody to be with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's been plenty of times, I know, in my younger days, there were times you were offered drinks or this or that. And it's like, no, I'm okay.
Yep.
No, I'm okay. And again, not really feeling like I had to give reasons, probably still being polite, but not feeling as though, I don't know. I think sometimes charm like that, like you're talking about, I would find to be a turnoff, because it seems a lot of times disingenuous when you're a young woman. And I suspect a lot of times it is disingenuous. So anyway, those are just my few tales of, I think, listening to my instincts and putting a kibosh on things before you really have to do something to fight back.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, we'll take one more quick break.
Okay.
Be right back on the Escape Pod. Need an early morning boost or midday pick-me-up? Check out the Homebrew Coffee Shop, a coffee shop with a cause in the heart of the One Heart campus. Homebrew is home to delicious coffee, sweet treats, breakfast, and lunch items, a great place to meet friends or host small group meetings. Homebrew, located at 201 Kansas City Street in Rapid City. Open Monday through Friday from 6:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. Homebrew, where you'll find hope for a home in every cup. Welcome back. We are about to wrap up this edition of the Escape Pod. Where are you escaping to?
Oh, crap. Do you know how many times today I was like, I need to come up with something for that? Where am I escaping to? What am I escaping to? Well,
gluten-free pizza crust?
Yes, and my house smells fantastic.
Excellent.
So no headaches walking into that place.
Nice.
Yeah.
Listen, it is the little things in life.
Yeah.
I am escaping to some good old-fashioned quality time with my brother this weekend. We're gonna,
is he in town?
He will be in town. So, and we actually do like each other, thankfully, because I've seen him a lot lately. So that's good.
That's good.
Yeah, I like just. I don't know, even though it's like a work day, right? We're continuing to clear out stuff from a family member's home.
Yeah.
And so it's hard work, but we managed to find something fun to do in the midst of it. So
good.
It works out. Okay. That's going to do it for this edition of the Escape Pod. Tell people where they can find us.
Nope.
escapepod.live. You can email us at justbecause@escapepod.live.
I didn't have my thing up. Usually I pull it up. See, I told you I wasn't ready today. I didn't get counted in, Julie. I need structure. I need clearly. I need a routine. Oh, good Lord. Okay.
If you have stories of escape, it is escapeartist@escapepod.live.
Yes, or you just want to reach out like we heard from Auntie Deb this week.
Yes.
Who's becoming a regular on the show.
Yes.
We love her. Shout out Auntie Deb. I think I told Chad I'm adopting her because all of my cool aunts have passed away.
Aww.
And she's just so much fun.
Yeah.
But she was commenting on listening to the Halloween
edition
with the ghosts that we caught on audio. Yeah.
My favorite part of that email was when she said, you should leave a spirit plate. Best is something to the effect of best if you know who you're leaving it for.
If you know who you're leaving it for. Yes. And in this building, I don't know who we're leaving it for. So, I mean, for all I know, you want to wave?
It was freezing in here when we walked in today. And there was a moment when I thought to myself, maybe there is some other entity and being in here.
I had the same thing. And you notice now it's not so cold.
Yeah.
And we've been sitting still, so it should feel cold.
Yeah, but even my office goes like up and down. Like there's enough little bits. Yeah. Just with time. Anyway.
Well, and thank you. We sincerely appreciate your support, listeners. We also would love it and just feel very, very blessed if you would help us gain more exposure. You can do that by rating, reviewing, and subscribing through the website or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Leave a little review. 5 stars would be lovely. Helps podcasts like us gain more listeners and followers. Or you can decide to be a patron. Check out our website at escapepod.live, and you have patron options for gated content. I will admit we're not super great yet at putting content behind the gate.
But there is stuff on there that if you're a new patron, you would get
fun.
it. Yeah.
So we're working on that. We just, again, for those of you that are just tuning in,
we have day jobs.
We have a really small team and day jobs. And this is not this is a hobby on top of a job.
Yeah.
This is a hobby on top of jobs where you're wearing a lot of hats that feel like 3 jobs. So we are human and we are doing the best that we can. But we would like to see this continue to grow. And, so far it's been pretty good. And we feel really fortunate. It's, 10 months in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
40 plus episodes in, which is crazy.
10, 11, 8. We started in February.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so almost 10 months now. And I think we're just about to hit 5,000 downloads.
There you go.
Now, if we could hit 5,000 downloads per month.
Even better.
That'd be even better. We're not there yet. But that would, open up other opportunities for us. So we are...
Yeah.
You guys have heard ads now. We know sometimes they can be annoying, but please check out those sponsors because it does help us support the show. And supporting the show helps us support the nonprofit work that we do at One Heart. So that's why we're doing all of this extra work.
Yep. And on that
Simple
note,
and sweet.
We are closing the hatch on this edition of the Escape Pod. Remember, trauma may be inevitable. How you grapple with it is optional.
So stay resilient
and keep laughing.